Here's the Mindful Man reading another chapter entitled Paris. Paris, Paris, Tom said, and Josh gasped. How, was all he could say. We'll get the train to London and then we'll get the Eurostar to Paris, he said. It will be magical. Josh knew it would be. That night, Josh was so excited he couldn't sleep. It took him ages to settle down. He was relieved to wake in the morning and everything seemed to speed up. And before they knew it, they were on the Eurostar and heading to Paris. It was like a dream. Josh stared wide awake out of the windows as the fields and homes sped by. He could tell he was in another country, and when they passed through the tunnel, he could hear his heart beating with the rattle of the train. Don't worry, said Tom as the train darkened. Josh had never been on such a fancy-looking train before, and he relaxed into the soft seat. He couldn't wait to see the Eiffel Tower and the sights and museums. Tom was feeling just as excited as Josh, but it was hard to tell as he studied his newspaper. Once again, the train was full of light, and they sped towards Paris. I can't believe we're doing this, said Josh excitedly. The train pulled into Gare du Nord, and they stepped onto the platform, with their suitcases and their feet on French soil. Everything looked so different and beautiful. It was like being on another planet. The street names had romantic names and sounded poetic. We need to find the hotel, said Tom, as he struggled with the weight of his case. Luckily, after 10 minutes of wondering, they found it by accident. Even though neither one of them could speak French, they managed to make sure they were booked for the weekend. Tom had found time to convert all of the money to euros and was determined to spend it all. After a rest and a coffee, they decided to head to the Eiffel Tower, their most famous destination. Luckily, they were near the metro, and after a near-comical exchange with a member of staff and help from some friendly travellers, they got tickets. It wasn't easy finding their way around a foreign country if you didn't speak the language, but they learned quickly. Maybe I should brush up on my French, said Tom apologetically. Josh laughed. It's too late for that, he thought, as the train sped towards their destination. Tom was worried they would go too far. He kept his eye on the tourists and followed them as they got off. They turned the corner, and before they knew it, they were in all in its magnificent. There it was in all of its magnificent glory. Wow, was all Josh could say. He was so impressed and amazed to be witnessing it. They sat on the grass and spent a good hour watching the tourists come and go. We'll wait till the night time and see it all lit up, said Tom. It will be amazing. And Josh nodded in agreement. Josh stood under the archway and he looked up at the incredible structure in wonder. He would have loved to have gone to the top, but the queues were just too long. He wasn't disappointed, as just being there was enough. He couldn't wait for it to be lit up, and they walked along the Seine. Everywhere they looked was beautiful and inspiring and poetic. This is amazing, said Tom, and Josh nodded in agreement. We should have brought a camera, said Tom sadly. Josh agreed, but he knew the beauty of Paris would live on in his memories forever. They tried to get into the Louvre, but the queues were too long. I think it's time for a late lunch, said Tom, and they headed to the nearest cafe. The sunshine was so strong it was wiping them out. Tom looked at the menu and he was fairly bemused. I don't think we'll be having egg and chips, he whispered to Tom and smiled, to Josh and smiled.